For the White Rose Philosophical Study Group, I'm Mark Freeman. For more information about the White Rose Philosophical Study Group or the Church of Illumination, please see the links in the description below. Links to all our videos are also included. This is video number 12 in this series where we discuss spiritual and philosophical concepts that can be applied to everyday life or any other worthy endeavor. As promised in our last video, we will begin this lecture with an answer to the following question. Quote, "All my life I have wanted to meet the right man to marry and raise a family. I have had several relationships, all of which ended badly. I am now in my late 50s and can no longer bear children. You have said repeatedly that with the light of God within, we can project upon the world and our life anything we desire. How can I fulfill the deepest desire of my life when there is no possibility of accomplishing it?" Unquote. There are three parts in the answer to this question. We will begin with what some may view as a cop-out to the problem presented. However, the second and third part will answer her question completely and provide a truly viable solution. Before we begin, please note that we are deeply sympathetic to this listener's pain, and we understand completely the emotions involved. Let's start with something that most of you who are listening may have never considered. In our current society, we are bombarded constantly with aphorisms such as, "If you can dream it, you can become it. Follow the man who follows a dream. Do what you love and you will love what you do. Become the person you were meant to be," and yes, even from your host, you can project upon the world anything you desire that is in harmony with the divine light of God. From the time we are little children in grammar school until we graduate from college or trade school, we are constantly being asked what we want to do in life. We plan out our lives with lists of innumerable things we want to do or want to accomplish or wish to be remembered for. However, what if we were asked the following question instead? What do you want to feel in your life? What emotions do you want to experience rather than specific events? Have you ever dreamt of doing something, planned and saved for it, put forth incredible effort to make it happen, and then when you finally experienced your dream, it somehow wasn't anything like you expected it to be, and you didn't experience the emotions that you felt while in anticipation of the event? If you have ever experienced this, then you know that the dream and the actual physical manifestation of it are, in fact, two separate things. One resides in the spiritual, the other in the physical. One is the ideal, the other the shadow of the ideal. Keeping this in mind, dear listener, the first part of the answer to your question lies within the parameters of this observation. Look inward and honestly ask yourself what emotions you believe finding the right husband and raising a family feels like to you in the ideal. Despite your age, this is still something that is possible for you. There is no reason why you could still not meet the man of your dreams and the two of you adopt children to raise. If you are both in reasonably good health, this is well within the realms of possibility. If you do not wish to marry or cannot find a suitable life partner who supports your dream, then you can volunteer at day care centers, work as a teacher's aide in an elementary school, teach Sunday school, volunteer or provide your services as a babysitter or caregiver, or get involved in children's theater. There are innumerable avenues where you can influence the life of a child and experience the love and joy of doing so without having to be the child's mother. Whatever brings to you the feeling of being a mother, then you are a mother in spirit, if not in fact. The second part to this answer requires you to accept the fact of reincarnation. If you, our audience, and this particular listener have heard the majority of our lectures, then you know we speak of the reincarnation of the soul into multiple bodies over multiple lifetimes as a fact and not just mere belief. There is an overwhelming amount of evidence that this is the case, and we could spend many hours presenting that evidence. However, we are here to answer this question and provide a solution to the problem presented. So, if you have never considered the possibility of reincarnation before, we ask that you do so now, so that you may understand the solution we are providing. Accepting reincarnation as a fact broadens one's horizons far beyond a single life's work. As an example, let us condense a single average lifetime into 1 year. Let every 4.5 days equal a year. How would you plan your life? In this context, it is easy to see that not everything you might wish to accomplish can be done in a single year. Hence, it must logically hold that the same is true for the short span of a human life. Now, consider your present state of being. If due to age, physical disability, disease, or duty, you are not able to engage in accomplishing a specific goal, then you will have every opportunity to do so in a future life if you refuse to give into defeat and despair. The divine law is just and absolute. As ye sow, so shall ye reap. This is not just some philosophical sophistry. It is a fact, which is demonstrated continually in nature and human affairs. Every thought you think creates a matrix through which nature may bring it into manifestation. Your desire is the energy source by which nature can accomplish this manifestation, and your efforts to bring the thought into realization, in spite of current limited circumstances, reinforces the foundation upon which that manifestation may be built in your next incarnation upon earth. With God, all things are possible. This includes reincarnation and a second, third, or 70 times 7 chance to accomplish your most heartfelt desire. Remember what we said about opportunity. Preparation and faith are the 2 key factors you will need to take advantage of an opportunity when it presents itself. Anyone can prepare for their next life at any time in this life. As an example, we know of a gentleman in his 90s who entered law school, passed the bar exam, and became a lawyer, even though he was unable to practice his profession due to his advanced age. When asked why he did all this, his response was, "I'll be that much more prepared when I come back." Study the subject matter of your desire thoroughly. Make observations and see where others have failed or succeeded. Affirm your desire with words, thoughts, or mental images at a specific time each day, and charge those words, thoughts, and or images with a desire that they may be of the highest service to God. Every great man and woman we know of in history was born of another great woman, their mother. You can prepare now for your future work. There is no reason for despair or defeat. Just because we can't grow vegetables outdoors in the middle of winter doesn't mean a time will not come when a garden can be cultivated. This is the essence of faith, knowing in your heart that your chance will come as long as you forego any doubt and trust in God and the divine law. You must forego any doubt and trust in God and the divine law. This does require one to see beyond the horizon of death. Now, for most individuals, what concerns them are their daily affairs, relationships, parents, children, grandchildren, loved ones, and fulfilling well-rewarded employment or avocation. This is as it should be, as there is no more important work in the world than supporting a family and raising and educating children, either in the home or in the community. Regardless of your profession, everything in nature and in heaven is about the children, because they are your future as well as God's and the world's. Keeping this in mind, depending on one's personality, service to this most holy cause need not be direct. For example, the soldier who risks his life on the battlefield in defense of his country and the ideals of his native land may not be suitable as a father or even desire a family, yet his work is no less vital to their preservation. There are also individuals whose vision far exceeds the mundane affairs of life, who wish to serve and yet have little desire for the typical modern home and familial relationships. There is nothing wrong with this. It is only when there is contempt for family, or contempt for lack thereof, that an error is made. Every constructive profession and service is a vital link in the chain of civilization's engine and mirrors what we may call the city of Christ that exists in the divine light. There are certain concepts, ideas, and visions that cannot be realized or attained in the very short span of a single lifetime. A prime example is the establishment of the United States of America, the seeds of which were sown by the Templars nearly 800 years ago. Throughout that time, the Brotherhood in its various forms and names continued its efforts and eventually realized a dream which seemed literally impossible until the waning years of the 18th century. And yet, throughout that dark period of suffering, persecution, war, and bloodshed, the vision remained true. This was made possible by two fundamental processes in the drama of life and human evolution: angelic or hierarchical intervention and reincarnation. Those who had attained a level of universal awareness beyond a single lifespan returned time and time again to continue building the dream under the guidance of the eternal angelic hierarchs of God. Now, before continuing, some clarification is necessary. We must address many of the errors our country has been accused of, and of which it may indeed be guilty. Those who are spiritually asleep and feel no love for their native land and people, through which God works to make their homeland possible. These people who have no love for this native land of theirs have gained a foothold in our modern institutions of journalism and education. By citing America's errors of judgment throughout its short history of less than 3 centuries, it has become chic among these self-styled intellectuals to look upon patriotism as the opiate of an immature, uneducated, and naive populace who ignorantly raise the American flag with pride. To these we must ask, if you are not loyal to this nation and the principles upon which it was founded, then why are you here? A nation's life upon the earth plane is no different than the life of an individual. It is conceived, gestated, and born in pain and blood, suffers assaults upon its health, grows rapidly during its infancy, makes egregious youthful indiscretions during its adolescence, and struggles to find its place in the world as an adult. This does not excuse its indiscretions, but to assess the value of an individual or a nation on errors rather than contributions is a grave, grave injustice. Is there any person alive that can say he or she has not sinned? How then can we expect purity of nations? And is sin an excuse for disloyalty or infidelity? Only to the weak and spiritually immature. Consider the following. Everything that exists has its angelic counterpart in the divine light within you. Every plant, animal, rock, mineral, river, lake, stream, mountain, valley, plateau, and state and nation. Everything you see exists upon innumerable levels, each one higher and finer than the last. All things on earth are but poor reflections of their counterpart in the light. And just like a reflection of the stars in a pool, the slightest disturbance will create distortions, obscuring, to one degree or another, the source of the reflection. An inadequate mirror cannot be said to affect the thing reflected in it. If we accept the reflected image as reality instead of its source, it is we who are to blame, not the reflection. It is the ideal of the United States of America that is the reality, not its physical manifestation upon earth. When you salute the flag, you are saluting the ideal that it stands for, not the government that runs the country. Therefore, treat everyone, everything, and every circumstance as though the realm of light permeated all, because it does. Act and think as though you were already in heaven. Treat the representatives of God's angelic hierarchies, your fellow human beings, as though they were actually God's angels, and God's angels will work through them and you, ultimately transforming your world. We will discuss the importance of our country in the spiritual narrative in much further detail in a future video. But for now, returning to our main subject of reincarnation. Some are so burdened with the difficulties of their current existence that the thought of returning to earth again after death is a real source of depression and despair. Let not your hearts be troubled. God and the divine law never require us to reattend school without first having a long and delightful summer vacation. Now, the argument is often made that if reincarnation is indeed a fact, why can't we remember our past lives? The truth is, we can. Past remembrances most often present themselves in vivid dreams, experiences of déjà vu, and the recognition of strangers as friends long known. However, a word of caution. It is usually of little use to dwell upon the past. The only time one's past is revealed is if it is necessary to advance one's spiritual growth in this life. If it serves no constructive purpose, your past will remain hidden from your consciousness and should be of no concern to you. This is for your protection, so that you are not burdened with regrets from a past that you can do nothing about at the moment. The past belongs to God. Strangely enough, having a conscience as one does, after recuperating in the light following a difficult and burdensome earth life, if there are things one desires to put right or have a second chance at, one reaches a point where he or she wants to return to this great earthly school and experimental laboratory. However, if you simply cannot accept the fact of reincarnation, but do accept the fact of an afterlife in the presence of God, then we come to the third part of the answer to the querent's question. If you make all the preparations in this life as though your desire is already a reality, then you will be born into the afterlife in circumstances that will allow you to fulfill your dream. You will have entered heaven. Have faith, prepare, and live your life now as though your dream is already a reality. If you do this, then trust that no matter your current circumstances, they will change. In closing, we address the thoughts and actions you should be engaged in preparation for and expectation of improved conditions in your next life. There was a famous radio commentator for the New York Metropolitan Opera who is a perfect example. Even his name indicated one who would bear the burden of a disability. Here was a man who wanted to be an opera singer more than anything else in life. However, though a fine singer, his voice was one without the range, technique, or quality suited for opera. For him, this was akin to wanting to be a concert pianist but missing a finger on each hand. Did he despair? Did he give up? Did he resent his limited talents and blame God for his inabilities? This we can never know. What we do know is this: he surrounded himself with all the great opera singers of his day, learned everything he could about music composition and the opera world, studied the history of opera from its beginnings to its modern-day manifestation, and consequently became one of the most beloved opera experts in the world. For decades, it was his voice that read the synopses of the Met's Saturday afternoon opera broadcasts. It was his voice that the world came to recognize above and beyond the voices of the singers he extolled. Such foundation building prepares the aspirant for the next life, for love of something, anything, is an attractive force more powerful than steel to a magnet. Thus, it is with full knowledge and faith in the divine law that there is no doubt that the soul of this man has returned to earth and is one of the great opera singers of our day. Thank you for spending your time with me, and always remember, life is a magnificent adventure. Never stop learning.